Hi, I'm going to start reading the story The Buffalo Hunt to you. It's kind of a long story, so if you want to draw or get your artwork going while you listen to it, but I am going to be holding it up when there's artworks that are in it because it has actual artworks for the illustrations in this story. Buffalo Hunt by Russell Freedman. The first artwork, the title is Buffalo Hunter. It's from 1884. It's in a museum in California. A gift from the Great Spirit. Over blazing campfires on winter nights, Indian storytellers spoke of the buffalo. They told tales of buffalo giants and buffalo ghosts, of buffalo that changed magically into men, of children who were raised by buffalo and understood their language. In olden times, it was said buffalo used to eat Indians. They ate so many Indians that a legendary figure called Old Man had to put a stop to it. He organized a race between the buffalo and the Indians to decide who should eat whom. The Indians won. On the Great Plains of North America, every Indian tribe had a rich and ready store of buffalo tales and legends. According to the Comanche, buffalo came from gigantic caves somewhere on the windswept ranges of the Texas Panhandle. Each spring, the buffalo spirit sent throngs of buffaloes from those hidden caves onto the open plains as a gift to the Indian people. Here's another artwork from the story. Up north, the Blackfoot said that a lake in Canada was the place where the buffalo began. They were born beneath the water and the darkest depths of the lake. If you could visit that sacred spot on the right night at exactly the right time, you would hear an eerie rumbling coming from the middle of the lake. And then you would see the buffalo rise out of the water and crowd onto the shore, their shaggy fur wet and dripping, their curved horns gleaming in the moonlight. To the Plains Indians, the buffalo, or the American bison, was the most important animal on earth. This snorting, lumbering beast provided almost everything the Indians needed to stay alive. The buffalo kept their bellies full and their bodies warm. It supplied raw materials for their weapons, tools, ornaments, and toys. The rhythm of their daily lives was ruled by the comings and goings of the great buffalo herds. It is a true wonder that the Indians worshipped the buffalo. It was of little wonder that the Indians worshipped the buffalo as a sacred animal. Before and after every hunt, they praised the spirit of the buffalo and thanked him for giving this meat. Men, women, and children carried buffalo-shaped rocks and fossils for good luck. They believed in the powerful magic of buffalo dreams. When they died, they hoped to go to a happy hunting ground in the sky, where buffalo flourished. Looking into the night sky, the Pawnee believed that the Milky Way was formed by dust left behind by the spirit buffalo. As recently as 150 years ago, countless millions of buffaloes still roamed the prairies and plains. They ranged from the Mississippi River westward to the Rockies and from Canada down to Rio Grande. Native American hunters had been stalking the animals for many thousands of years. During most of that time, the Indians had neither horses nor guns. They hunted on foot and they killed their prey with stones, tipped arrows, and spears. They knew how to creep up on grazing herds and how to surround the buffalo and how to drive them into corrals or stampede them over cliffs. Without horses, the Indians had to travel on foot whenever they moved their encampments. Back then, they used big, shaggy dogs as packs of animals to help carry their teepees and their other belongings. Sometimes, on a long journey, the dogs would grow tired and begin to droop and lag and hang their tongues. And then someone would cry, "Buffalo ahead, fresh meat in the plenty," and the dogs would bound forward as they had just set out. Later, the Indians would remember that era as their dog days. The first horses were brought to North America by Spanish explorers in the 1500s. Within a century or so, runaway horses had drifted northward from Spanish settlements in Mexico and were roaming the plains in the wild herds. The Indians learned to capture and tame those wild horses, and the horses changed their lives. Now they could travel long distances to find the buffalo. They could chase the herds and kill the choicest animals. And with pack horses, they could carry bigger teepees and more possessions. And then, with them, as they traveled across the plains. In time, the Indians became some of the world's finest horsemen, experts at hunting and fighting on horseback. That's a beautiful one, huh? Catching the Wild Horse, that's the title of that artwork. There's no date on it, but it's in Oklahoma right now in an art museum there. When the white trappers and traders began to visit the Great Plains in the early 1800s, about 250,000 Indians were living in the region. They belonged to some of the 24 distinct tribes, each with its own language and customs. Many of these tribes had migrated from the woodlands of the east, but only a few, like the Pawnee of Kansas and Nebraska, still practiced the old arts of farming and fishing. Most of the Plains Indians had given up the settled life of farmers and fishermen to follow the buffalo herds. They spent the winter in sheltered camps, but in the spring they folded their teepees and roamed the plains. They hunted other animals beside the buffalo, of course. They hunted deer and antelope, elk, and the occasional bear. But buffalo meat was their staple food, buffalo hunting their main occupation. Occupation means job. A Plains tribe was made up of many small independent bands. Once or twice a year, all the bands belonged to a tribe would assemble for a great religious ceremony, a tribal council, or a communal hunt, but mostly the bands moved about on their own. Each band had its own encampments or villages, and each band hunted in the different parts of the tribal territory. Hunting was a man's responsibility. Every able-bodied boy was taught that he should become a fearless hunter and warrior. Small boys ran about yip-yapping in play hunts, dreaming of the day that they would be able to be big enough for a ride after a herd of stampeding buffalo. A successful hunter could provide for many people. He became a man of influence, entitled to honor and privileges. Women were responsible for putting the buffalo and other game to good use. It was a woman's job to skin and butcher the buffalo, to preserve the meat and tan the hides. As Indian girls grew up, they learned from their mothers and grandmothers the art of transforming a dead buffalo into thousands of practical and useful objects. The buffalo was the biggest animal on the plains. A full-grown buffalo stood 6 feet tall. The buffalo was the biggest animal on the plains. A full-grown bull stood 6 feet tall at the humped shoulders and weighed a ton or more. An angry bull could stab a bear to death. He could toss a wolf so high into the air that the wolf would be killed by the fall. While buffalo were somewhat dim-sighted, they could hear the faintest sounds and smell enemies from 3 miles away. And when they sensed danger, they moved fast. A bull or cow could wheel about on its slim hind legs and run as fast as the horse. When a whole herd stampeded, the earth trembled. White explorers were astonished at the size of the herds that they saw as they crossed the Great Plains. There were times when the buffalo stretched endlessly across the countryside, as far as the eye could see. Artist George Catlin described these herds when he traveled west during the 1830s to study and paint the Indians. Buffalo graze in immense herds in almost incredible numbers, he wrote. and they roam over vast tracts of country. No one really knows how many buffalo roamed the prairies and plains before the white man came. The Indians thought they were never enough buffalo to last forever. It seemed impossible that they could ever disappear. That's the end of chapter 1.